guys, guess what? It was me, ELB, the whole time. So welcome everybody. I'm going to be talking a little bit about Ghostbusters 2 today because I watched it last night. So I think because it's so popular, especially right now with the new movie, it's on Netflix. So one thing led to another and I was up till 1 in the morning watching it. So it's a pretty good movie. I got a couple issues with it. So the cool thing is this movie used to be the worst Ghostbusters movie, and now it isn't anymore, so that's very exciting, especially for the people who worked on Ghostbusters 2. They can breathe a sigh of relief after like 20 years. So this video might have a couple spoilers about the new movie, so if you don't want any spoilers, I would probably tune out right now. So Ghostbusters 2 starts off a couple of years after the first one finished, and everybody's moved on because the city decided to sue everyone for property damages from the first movie, even though they really had very little to do with that. It's kind of like suing the guy who got rid of the ants in your property because he stained your house with his spray or something. That's really stupid, okay? I get that the money had to come from somewhere, but the Ghostbusters were not known for being particularly rich at the best of times, so it seems really kind of petty and stupid, especially when you consider at the end of this movie they hand them to the key to the city, so it's like totally a mixed message. This is in a stark contrast to the new movie where they're literally brushed under the carpet and the city acts like the ghosts never existed and everyone is crazy for having seen them, which would constitute for like 90% of the population of like the world, because everyone has cameras and would take pictures of all these ghosts flying around in Manhattan and New York and all this kind of stuff. So with kind of Dan Aykroyd's character, Ray owns an occult bookstore, and then he does children's stuff with Winston where he goes to these birthday parties and makes a fool of himself for like 20 bucks, and kids say they want He-Man. Egon continues his kind of sciencey work by working at a laboratory at Columbia University, I think it is. Peter makes a living swindling people on a television program where he pretends to be a psychic. So Dana, the woman who worked as basically Gozer, I guess, in the first movie, she became a museum painting washer who like washes paintings with brushes. It's kind of confusing. I'm sure this is a real job, but to me it's like, it seems kind of confusing. A paint restoration specialist. So what happens is she's moving her baby along in this creepy old school kind of baby thing, and it rolls down a hill and it scares the crap out of her, and she thinks it's ghosts immediately. So she calls up Venkman and the guys and she's like, you gotta investigate. And then you got Janusz, who's like a pseudo-European ancestry stereotype joke, and he's basically becomes the slave of the big bad in the movie, and his face is kind of plastered all over. It's kind of strange. I'm not really sure why Vigo would pick Janusz, because he's kind of like pathetic and weak. You'd figure that a god of like super strength, not a god, but he's like a super strong dude who's magical and like lived for 100 years and it was like super hard to kill. You'd think he'd pick the biggest, buffest guy he could get, the one with the most power, and he picked the weakest, weeniest, most poorly persuasive guy, Janusz. Why didn't he possess 2 or 3 people? Why didn't he get like a small army of guys to protect his painting until he could put himself in the baby? That sounded wrong. So for whatever reason, the Ghostbusters decide that this slime and stuff that's going on, this slime residue that they're finding, it has to be underground. So they decide to go to one of the busiest intersections in New York and dig a giant hole into the earth. Really for no reason, because they probably could have accessed this area from somewhere else, and in fact in the movie they do later, so this whole kind of thing is pointless. So of course there's a river of slime that attacks Ray, and then he gets flinged up the hole and he smacks a little piece of metal with his foot, like a little pipe, and this little pipe held the most important cable in New York because it shuts down the power to the entirety of New York. And of course that would not happen ever, so it's really dumb and needless. But it does get them arrested, so I guess that's plot development. Really, that pipe was just a pipe of plot development. So then we have the required courtroom scene where there's the little pile of goo, the little jar of goo that sits on the table, and it's by the proton packs, and of course the judge is a big like stereotypic douchebag judge, and he's smacking the thing and he's like, Ghostbusters are guilty, and then as he's smacking he's like, I would burn you all at the stake if I had the chance. And it's really needlessly frightening and like super stereotypical. And then the slime, for whatever reason, held his previous defendants, and they shoot up the Scoleri brothers, and they're in electric chairs. And then immediately the judge is like, Ghostbusters, save me, it's the Scoleri brothers, I can't believe it. And what surprised me is the fact that he could identify these guys almost immediately, because they're like dead, bloated, ghost, see-through, incorporeal things that are like 3 times the size of a normal person flying around. And yet he's like he's like, no, that's the Scoleri brothers, clearly. So at this point, we need some boobs in this movie. So Dana's at her apartment, and she takes off her top, and then her bathtub has got goo in it. It's got this goo, the slime that's trying to get Oscar, because Vigo wants the little baby. He wants to get inside the baby. So she tries to take a bath with her baby, and then the goo like jumps out of her tub, and it like tweaks the shit out of her tub in this special effect. Like, it ruins the tub. And then later in the movie, Egon and I think Ray look at the tub, and they're like, well, all we found was just some goo. So it seems really strange to me. I think that Egon would notice something like that. He'd be like, this is a paranormal, physical manifestation, a manipulation occurrence. But no, he doesn't say a word. So, and then Dana, with her character's so flat. She immediately runs to Venkman, and she's like, you gotta save me, you gotta keep my baby safe. And she's just like, she has like no strength to her character. She's just like, guys gotta save me, they've gotta do, they've gotta fix it up. It's as if the new movie was like, oh no, we gotta make up for Dana's character in the second movie. We gotta make all the girls. We gotta make all the characters girls. And I mean, I don't really get it. I don't get it on so many levels. I don't even know what to say about the new movie. Anyways, as opposed in the old movie, there were kind of weak females. Dana was not a strong female. The secretary is kind of a strong female. Sure, she's got an attitude. She goes after what she wants, which respectable. But Dana, not so strong. She's like, Peter, save me. Save me, Peter. So Egon and the guys figure out that the slime reacts to emotions, which was pretty obvious considering that the judge was screaming and banging his thing, and the slime popped out of its jar and made a bunch of ghosts. And they decide they want to go down and find that river of goo, but they can't use the hole they dug before, so they got to go down into a train track which has no reason to be there really at all. And I'd like to take a moment and just say that pretty much probably 20-30% of this movie could be literally just edited down to like a tenth the length, and the story would not suffer. There's so many things that are just unnecessary that just meander around until we get to the final plot, and it's not like a mystery. The characters could logically think out what's happening a little bit, but they don't, and they just go on these side journeys, these little jaunts that don't get them anywhere nearer to their goals. And I think that's probably why people thought this movie wasn't that great. It's because it's very pandering. It's kind of sputtering, it kind of spins its wheels for so long. So after a train attacks Winston and scares the shit out of him, they find a little side tunnel, and then they find the exact spot where they dug down before, the exact same scene and set where Ray was hanging down from First Avenue. They just basically walk down the steps. So it confirms that point where they dug up First Avenue and got arrested was completely worthless, and simply to get us that courtroom scene. So, which again was also kind of worthless because no one really learned anything in that courtroom scene. Not really. So Winston decides to use a depth measuring device, which is like a tape on a roll, and it has a little bob weight at the bottom, and they decide to measure the depth of this water that's moving at like a fairly rapid pace, which would not work because the bob would not sink to the bottom appropriately, and it would just continually flow and hang. The bob was made for water, which is not thick and viscous, which this slime is. So all of them get freaked out. It's spinning very fast. It's pulling the tape. Winston's going to get pulled in. They don't take off his belt. The little tiny thing that holds that reel onto his belt doesn't pop off because I guess Winston weighs like 30 pounds, so it just kind of pulls him right into the water, and he's and he flows down the river. And then Egon and Ray are basically like, well, I guess we gotta jump in. So they jump into this stuff that is known to make them feel shitty and awful. So we don't know where they go, but they show up opening a sewer cover. So I guess they got out of the river somehow. And they get out and they're angry and they realize the slime's making them angry. So they strip off their clothes and they're all wearing long johns. Thank God for that. So they decide to go to the restaurant where the bankman is and yell and scream and make a big show. So they go to the mayor's office where the Peck stand-in, Jack Hardymeyer. Am I reading this right? Hardymeyer? Hardymeyer. Okay. He has them committed to a psychiatric hospital, which gives us a scene where Bill Murray's brother plays a psychiatrist, and it's hilarious if you know that because Bill Murray is just head down on the table. I think at this point perhaps he realized this movie was really kind of going off the rails. So, but whatever, you know. I really like to see basically two Bill Murrays on screen at once together. It's kind of like the Twilight Zone a little bit. And then we have a Janusz nanny fly in the sky and steal Oscar the baby. And I don't know why the nanny's face is like Janusz. It doesn't make any sense because it's not Janusz. It could just be any ghost, but it's a Janusz ghost. I really don't. I never get that, and I don't get that. I actually didn't know it was him until I rewatched the movie for like the 5th time because I was like, oh no, that's really stupid. It's just a really ugly woman. No, it's Janusz's face in a dress pushing a baby. It's really stupid, and his arm stretches and grabs a baby. Oh, it's really stupid. So after Janusz woman kidnaps the baby, he gets taken to the museum, and the museum covers itself in slime that is rising because of all the emotions or whatever on New Year's Eve. But New Year's Eve is generally happy emotions, so I don't know why evil slime would get bigger on a happy emotion night, but it happens and it rises up and it covers it in a shell, and no one thinks to like go under the museum into like a service tunnel or anything. They're just like, we gotta blast through the front door. So yeah, so on New Year's Eve, basically, because of the paranormal emotions or whatever, a bajillion ghosts come out, and then the mayor is like, we got to get the Ghostbusters, and Hardiman says, I had them committed, and the mayor fires Hardiman, giving us kind of like that sweet justification that we got before from Peck getting one-upped, but we got it from Hardiman, and it's even more because he fires Hardiman, so he's come entirely out of the picture. So the Ghostbusters get on the scene. They're trying to blast their way in the museum, but it's too strong. There's too much negative emotions with everyone crowding around and being jazzed and drunk and happy on New Year's Eve. All that positive emotion has the opposite effect at this point, and the slime is strong and rising, and there's lots of ghosts everywhere, so I don't get it. But so at this point, probably the best part of the movie, probably one of the most iconic parts of the movie, they decide that they need a positive symbol, and the most positive symbol they can find is the Statue of Liberty, which, fair enough, yeah, it's pretty positive. So they decide to go to her with positively charged slime that has been put into big tubies on their backs, and they spray the inside of the Statue of Liberty. I don't know how they got over to the Statue of Liberty Island so quickly, especially since it's New Year's Eve, so probably not a lot of people working, not too many people working, and there was no one around. Like, it was empty, and they got into the Statue of Liberty, no one questioned. So, I don't know. But then they have lots of loudspeaker equipment all throughout the Statue of Liberty's insides, and then they spray slime everywhere, and they play, what the hell is it? They play higher and higher, and then the Statue of Liberty's flame explodes, even though there was no slime on it, and she starts walking, and they walk across the river, and thankfully the river is not, they were able to somehow get her over the slope that is like Liberty Island is like right in the middle of the water there, and somehow they were able to get her down into the water, across the water, and up, I guess on a beach or something, because it would have to be fairly gradual, because they say that her joints are weak. So they start walking, everybody's cheering because it's a walking Statue of Liberty, and if you had a camera, you'd take a picture, if you know what I mean. So as everybody's cheering, everybody's cheering because the Statue of Liberty's coming, and everyone's singing, and they're happy, and the slime is receding and weakening, so they smash the slime with the fire of the Statue of Liberty. Her hand, she's like, bam! And for whatever reason, the glass slime is very weak, and they're able to zip line into the museum like Spec Ops, and from that point they're able to start the attack on what's his face, Vigo, like Viggo Morrison. So they spray Janusz with slime, and he's out for the count. And then Vigo like tries to inhabit Oscar's body, and they like start face shifting with like 3D effects and stuff. But then they're like immobilized. But then all the people outside are singing. They sing the New Year's song, and then it like weakens Vigo, and he like drops a baby right onto Venkman kind of. And then they were able to move. Ray gets really close to Vigo for whatever reason because he had to be possessed in the movie, and they're like, shit, we're running out of time. We gotta get this guy possessed ASAP. So he gets possessed, and then he turns into Vigo Ray, and they spray Vigo Ray with positive goo, and the Vigo in the painting they shoot with proton packs because it wouldn't like explode the painting. It would just like hurt Vigo a bit. And then of course you have Lewis outside, and he gets there just in time. He's been running to the museum, and he breaks out his proton pack, and he's like, psh, shooting. And as this is happening, the Ghostbusters inside finally are defeating Vigo, getting him back in his painting. They're spraying. Everybody's like Call of Duty, like just spray and pray at this point, just blasting this painting. And finally, he's defeated, and he's like, oh, and he fades back into nothingness there, and then all the slime flies up into the sky off of the museum, and everybody's like, yeah, Lewis, you did it, you're amazing. So probably in the most kind of dumb moment, and this is a fairly dumb movie all told, the dumbest moment of this movie is where at the very end they have a big painting, and that painting was Vigo, but now it's the 4 Ghostbusters with the baby in the middle, and it's like a nativity-ish kind of scene with them kind of like wise man. Oh, it's like what the hell happened? How there's no reason that happened other than somebody was a talented artist and really wanted to get in the movie, and maybe Dan Aykroyd was like, yeah, why not? And then in the credits, the Ghostbusters finally receive the key to the city, the recognition they deserve, and probably not being sued for property damage like what happened at the start of this movie, because this movie was bigger and more important and better in the public eye and in the mayor's eye than the first one, because the first one they were sued after, according to this movie. So is this a bad movie? No, it's not a bad movie. It's Metacritic, Rotten Tomatoes is like 50%, and I would agree with that. Is it bad? It's not, yeah, it's kind of bad. There's lots of points where you find yourself questioning, why is this happening? Why are they here? What are their motivations? And that's the worst questions you can ask in a movie. I was confused at why people were doing things, and that's really bad. Was it really, really that bad that this got made? No, because it gave us more Ghostbusters before everybody started getting old and dying, and that brings a tear to my eye. You know, is the fact that we'll never have a real, authentic Ghostbusters movie again. It'll never be the same. Never be the same actors anymore. Clearly, God bless his soul. But the worst part is that the new movie didn't even respect either of the previous movies, and it's a reboot in the most cash cow kind of scoop it up and throw it on the screen kind of way. If you watch the backtracks, it's all about these actresses having improv in a movie that was known to be highly scripted and witty, especially the first movie. The script was razor sheen because it was really that funny, and all the actors were on their A game, and I don't feel that's the case in the new movie. The actresses they're good actresses, they're talented, they've shown this many times before, but the problem is that the way it was put together, the way it was written, the way that the director approached the shooting and the scheduling, and how much he was leaning on improv to take care of the weak script. That's not how you do it. You don't make a weak script, throw good actors at it, and then expect the actors to fix the script. It's the other way around. You take a great script, and then you expect the actors to evolve and mold that great script into something truly legendary. That's how it works. That's how you do a good movie. But that was not the case. So, should you waste your money on the new movie? No. You should see Ghostbusters 2 again because it's better than the new Ghostbusters. Largely because the actors are, on their game. The script is still better than the new one by far. The characters are a lot more likable, even though they're not that likable compared to the first one. But it's a solid experience. It kept me watching the way through, and I've seen it a dozen times. So there you go. Well, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate your support. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll probably be coming back with something new pretty quick. Leave any comments in the comments down below. And take care, and I'll see you later. Peace out.